Hi there. Glad you're watching. Today we're going to listen to Jesus give us a piece of wisdom that, if we make it our own, will help to shape how we spend our time, how we spend our abilities, and how we spend our money in a way that, in a way that we will like the result in our life. Because you see, if we live God's life, God's way, we find what the Bible calls the joy of our salvation. This is all about finding the joy of our salvation. And it's mostly by listening to our own lives so that we come to understand what really has value and then choose to spend our efforts and our time in things that count. And those things that count basically have to do with blessing other people. Oh yes, they're the practical things. We have to take care of ourselves, but frankly, most of us have enough money so that we're not hungry and we have the clothes we need. We may not have the car that would be most desirable to us, but we've got something that works. Anyhow, this is about wise living and where we invest our time and effort. Now, I think this passage is all the more impressive because Jesus had just spent 40 days in the wilderness preparing for his public ministry and had been tempted to misuse who and what he had. And it's out of that experience of temptation that he's speaking to us in love. And he's saying, Jamie, I know what you're going to be tempted to do. I understand why. I understand its power. But don't, because it's a waste. If you're familiar with the story of the devil tempting Jesus in the wilderness, you know his first temptation, Jesus had not eaten in quite some time, was to say, why don't you use your power to turn that rock over there into bread? Hey, nobody's watching, ain't going to hurt anything. You can feed yourself. You know you're hungry, and then you can just do a better job, just take care of yourself first, and then everything will be just fine. Remember Jesus' answer? Man doesn't live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. How often have I heard people say, well, I'm too busy to go to church, I'm too busy to pray, I'm too busy to pray to read my Bible. They're pursuing what the Bible calls bread that doesn't satisfy. Why eat the bread that doesn't satisfy? The next temptation was, hey, you could be famous. All you have to do is jump off the highest pinnacle of the temple and your Father will send down the holy angels and you won't even dash your foot against a stone. What a spectacular thing that would be. What could you do with that attention, huh? Jesus literally could have been more famous than Elvis or the Beatles or any group you can imagine. Really. But he said, no, don't go pursuing fame and power and wealth. No. All these things perish. None of these things are truly satisfying to our souls. They're counter to the way we're designed to be. So let's hear Jesus' words. This is found in Matthew chapter 6. Store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust consume, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust consume, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, that's where your heart will be also. I think on one level or another, we all know this. Maybe you've heard someone say, I really care about my family. My family is the number one thing in my life. It's why I work. It's why it's everything I do is for my family. But that same person spends hours on their boat, fishing without their children, or maybe plays 4 rounds of golf a week. Now, if you're retired and independently wealthy, you can play 4 rounds of golf a week and also have your family come first. But for most of us, Those two statements are mutually exclusive. They don't make sense. And we don't even know it. Everybody else around us does, but we don't. That's why Jesus says, don't check out how you feel about life. Don't tell yourself what you think you treasure. Look at where your heart is. See where you spend your time, your effort, your income. That will tell you. And if it's right, if your treasure's in heaven, if your treasure's with God, hey, everything else will follow. And if it's not, let's start with God and what's of eternal value. Now, what does that expression mean, eternal value? Have you ever thought about that? I was talking to a fellow he's 73 now. He's a widower, and he during this COVID-19 thing, I asked him how he's doing, and he said, well, I've noticed that there are things that I treasure, things that fill my heart now that I didn't even notice when I was younger and raising a family. Like mowing the grass. I stopped by my pond and I smelt the freshly mown grass and I looked at what was around me and it was very wonderful. It filled my heart. Well, that's just exactly right. That's what happens. We're busy trying to make every ends meet, trying to get our to-do list done, trying to satisfy everyone, busy. We don't even notice what's right in our life. In fact, the way our brains work, our brains are forever alerting us to what we need to get done, who might be a problem, who we better talk to or else. Our brains are forever warning us about stuff. And we latch on to what's negative, we latch on to what's incomplete, we latch on to what's irritating far more strongly if we don't take time to notice and return thanks to God for what is right. Now, I can't preach you into the wisdom of noticing and treasuring, thanking and sharing. But I prepared a series of meditations that you can use. And I'm available if you need my help, but I don't think you will be. When you're done with this sermon, just check out Livonia Presbyterian Church, Livonia Center, New York, and look for something that says Foundation Series. There's 6 of them up already, and the 7th one will go up next Wednesday. Just check any one of them out. Just click on it, look at it, follow the directions. Do it for a week. And if it makes a difference in your life, they're all connected. You can go back to the beginning, to the introduction, and you can come down each one of them anytime you choose to. And if they speak to you, I hope you do it with a friend. Call up somebody in your family. Call up a friend. Because things shared have more power. Remember, we're trying to overcome the power of our brain to depress us and to exhaust us by being aware of what is right. And so, as the old hymn says, take time to be holy. Speak off with the Lord. I talked to 2 people this last week who tried the introductory meditation to this series for a week. I asked the first one, how'd it go? He said, I can do this. And I did it almost every day. And I heard the liveliness in his voice. Normally exuberant, he is working a relatively new job in a factory that's just very, very busy because they make parts for medical equipment. And with this COVID-19 thing, too much work. And he's a shift supervisor, and so, man, he's come home. When I've talked to him, he just sort of sounds like this. But you know what? Not the other night. And I said, you sound lively. He said, I really hadn't noticed that, but yeah, I have more energy. Would you like some more energy to live, to spend with your family, with the people you love, to thank God and to be glad you're alive? Check these meditations out. Do it with a friend. Shared experience is always more powerful than what we keep to ourselves. The second person I talked to, he told me, well, yeah, no, I can do these. In fact, I've done them every day, and most days I've done it twice, 10 minutes twice a day, like you recommended. I said, have you noticed any difference? He said, well, they're okay. I said, no, I meant with your life. He said, oh, you know, my work days go faster, and I have less problems at work, and I'm not as aggravated, and I like the people I'm working with better. I said, well, now, isn't that just about what you would hope for? And he said, oh, yeah, this is working. It'll work for you too, I bet. Because you see, we do have a responsibility. For all that God does for us, we have to pause. We have to make time. We have to choose to open our heart to God's leading, because we're free not to do that. Just go to Livonia Presbyterian Church, Livonia Center, New York. Find any one of those meditations. Try it for a week. Hey, if you only do it once a day for 7 days, that's barely an hour out of the whole rest of your life. It's not very much time. And I think you'll find, like my other two friends here, that this is good stuff. And it'll make the kinds of difference in your life that you want. You know, this COVID-19 thing has been stressful for all of us. Hey, a little more quality time with God. Learn how to meditate. Learn how to use your mind in a way that will balance your life. And see all the good things that happen. God bless you. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for checking in.